Hi, everyone. This is Tommi Vincent, your host of In Her Words podcast. And today we have joining us at the table, Erika Kegler. Erika is the Director of Player Development for the Association of Tennis Professionals, also known as ATP. Erika, welcome to the table.
Thank you for having me. I'm so pleased to be here.
Absolutely. So now this is interesting that you are responsible for many things for player development with enriching programs for professionals, professional tennis players, elite juniors, and alumni for the men's circuit. So here you are, a woman doing your thing, really instilling and equipping these men with some serious life skills, development, and betterment of oneself as a professional. Can you talk about some of the things that you're responsible for?
Sure. So within the ATP Tour, it's the governing body, as you said. We have tournaments around the world. We start in January and we run all the way through the end of the year in November with our year-end finals in Turin, Italy. Because it's a global sport, we also represent international players. So we have players touching every point in the globe. Different from other sports, we don't really have a rookie year. Players come in based on their performance from the level before. So I don't have a cohort of 18-year-olds or a cohort of 21-year-olds. Players are constantly coming in and out of the circuit. So when we start working with players, it's usually at the junior level. And then from the junior level, we try to have another touch point when they're first eligible for the professional tour. When they become eligible for the professional tour, we try to have different types of onboarding programming in place. We also have things for them as they continue to mature and matriculate through the circuit, various touch points. There's all type of milestones that we try to have programming in place. Once they prepare for retirement, obviously we want to have some type of continuing education available, also some type of transition programming. So we're trying to touch them for about 15 years while they're competing. And then, of course, on the other side of competition, we want to make sure they have some type of soft landing for their retirement.
Yeah, that was the part about all of this that I was really intrigued by, is because you have so many, the age range is starting very young. From the perspective of, a professional, tennis players start at a very young age, and then when they go, like you said, to the other side of their career, and now they're moving in different facets of life, having programming that meets the need of all of these age ranges. What does programming look like for a 15-year-old?
Well, I will say I'm not speaking on behalf of the women, but the women have even younger athletes. On our side, most 16-year-old young men aren't able to compete with the men that are mature on the circuit. So typically we won't see them until they're about 17 years old. Okay. And those are the phenoms for us. 17, 18 is considered a young athlete for us. But you want to make sure that they have information on the true core information. So we could talk about periodization. How do you plan your schedule? You're going from different surfaces. We have clay courts, grass courts, hard courts. These are different surfaces, have different requirements. So we want to make sure from a physical standpoint that they're prepared for that. Make sure that they understand about sleeping and their nutrition, hydration. These are just things that they should be learning along the way, but we want to make sure that they have an understanding from us. Also, we want to talk about respect and goal setting and anything that they want. We want to make sure that we have a resource for them. Everyone's not going to make it. So we want to make sure that they are prepared, make sure they have that education, make sure they get their high school equivalency, no matter what country they're from. And so we try to make sure that they have a resource for that. But if they become a professional, then we have other things that they could take advantage of along the way. Mm-hmm.
So tell me this, Erika, how did you get into the world of tennis, and was this a goal?
Was this a goal? I don't think the word tennis was in my vocabulary at the time. I think if I look back over my life, I was always groomed. My father and we would watch boxing matches together as a kid. He'll take me to college football games. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, so we didn't have a professional football team like we do today.
Yes.
But we did have the USFL with the Jacksonville Bulls, and I went to those games with my father. So early on, I had a appreciation for sport. Okay. I wasn't an athlete myself. But I did help out behind the scenes. So my brother, he played baseball. So when he was playing baseball for his high school, I'm 9 years younger than him. So I'm running out getting the bats. I'm in the dugout.
Yeah.
Take that a step further. I was a statistician for my baseball team in high school. Take it another step. I was a Pop Warner football referee, as an adult, young adult, much younger adult. But that was a way to, stay connected.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, that's when I decided I wanted to be a sports management major. I attended Florida State University. And back then, and I didn't say how long I've been doing this, but back then, our sports management program wasn't quite like it is today. Today, it's a huge program at Florida State. But back then, it was a track under the communications program. So my degree's in communication, but my focus was sports management. And I was very fortunate to receive an opportunity to intern at 2 different places that I had wonderful mentors. And both mentors were African-American men, and they encouraged me. They gave me the belief that I could do it. And this is my 30th year in the business. And so if it kind of give you some timing, in the early 90s, I think most people who were interested in sports management thought of Jerry Maguire.
Yes.
Yeah. I knew that wasn't necessarily my direction, but I was trying to find other ways that I could make an impact with sports, and I was fortunate enough to find my way to tennis. Like I said, I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and our headquarters is in Ponte Vedra, which is just south of my hometown. Okay. And I came across an opportunity that I thought would be a very temporary assignment, and probably 6 weeks in, an opening was available in the communications department for the ATP. And the rest is history, as they say.
Mm-hmm. So I love how you shared the piece about you and your father, having the opportunity to connect over sports. And a lot of the women that actually have, I've had the opportunity to speak with at the table, that was the connection. Mm-hmm. At a young age, they spent time watching games and just really having that time with their father, doing that. And we have many ways of getting to points in life. But when we have those influences of our parents, whether it's your mother, your father, or whomever is caring for you, it really does leave an impact on us, and it can start to be the rudder of the ship that we're using to get where we desire to go.
I couldn't agree with you more. Even today, I make a point to pour back into my parents just the way they did for me. And I know for my dad, it's sports. So anytime there's a FSU football game, we're road tripping.
I love it.
We do that maybe twice a year, Jaguar season tickets for me and my dad. Where we sit is based on where my dad can go. So my dad is 82 years old, going on 83. Wow. So I want to make sure that he's comfortable when he goes to these games.
Yes.
So I am, very happy to be in a place where I can, share some of the things that I've been fortunate enough to experience and share it with him or my mom. My mom, she usually goes on the road trips, but she just hangs back at the hotel room. She won't go to the games. But I'm very fortunate to have my parents with me, and they enjoy what I do.
Mm-hmm. So what's the most rewarding aspect of your work?
I think there's 2 parts for me. The ATP and working in men's professional tennis has given me a chance to see the world. Like, at 21 years old when I started, young woman, never really knew what would be outside of those 4 walls or the cubicle even. But it was almost like opening a window to the world immediately, because every phone call I received was from somewhere else, a different accent.
Yeah.
I pick up on accents quite well nowadays, but back then it was a struggle, you know, and because I was working with athletes I was searching for so they can meet certain deadlines, sometimes I would call and I could get someone that spoke, had no English skills. So you're really trying to meet somewhere in the middle. My Spanish, which was very limited, their limited English, trying to find one person. You learned a lot in some of those days. But I think, the ability to travel internationally, for a lot of people, that's a great reward. It taught me a lot of independence because, traveling for work, sometimes you're solo. And so now I don't mind taking that adventure alone. I'm not afraid to travel by myself, for example. I think the second piece, though, is being able to provide a service, provide information, resources to athletes, you know, we know that everyone doesn't want everything that you have to offer, but you want to build awareness. And when they're at a place in their life where they feel that, I could go back to this, I'm glad that I planted a seed. So I think it's just, marrying your passion with your ability day in, day out. That's rewarding for me.
Give us a word that would describe, if you look back at the start of your journey to where you are today, one word that would describe it.
Resilience. I say resilience. I could look to several people who've been able to give me that inspiration. Like I said, I've been here for 30 years. Yes. 30 years. Longevity is everything. Consistency for me, I value it. I've had different opportunities within my company, so it keeps it fresh, which is great for me. So it doesn't necessarily feel like 30 years. Sometimes I look back, I'm like, gosh, that was a long time ago. And there's other times it just feels like it went that fast. So, but resilience, because obviously every year is not as good as the last year.
Right.
And then some years I'll do it, So I'm glad that I could say that I'm still here and still thriving and still viable and excited about the work to be done. And yeah, I love what I do. I really do.
So I know we talked about your work with ATP, but can you give us some insight? Because we know that's what you do and that's not who you are. So can you give us some insights into you, Erika, the woman?
Well, I will say this. I was just speaking with one of your people here, and I love photography. That's something that, I'm not a creative person, but I like to tap into the creative side. Yeah. And I don't even like taking pictures of people. I think that I'm much more talented on landscapes and animals. I go to the zoo. I have a zoo membership, for example, and I'll go to the zoo on a Saturday morning and just start snapping and just trying to get the right picture. And it might be the same animal every time I go, but I just want to get it better and better. And animals are somewhat predictable. Like they're going to walk the same path, the cats, or the big cats, I should say. They're going to walk the same path, so you kind of know. You learn their habits and you kind of get that right shot. And I think that's the competitive side of me, of just trying to improve upon what I did the last time. Again, I'm an adventurer. I don't do dangerous things, but I'm willing to. I love seeing new things, from a fresh set of lenses. And I think traveling helps me do that.
Yeah.
And when I say traveling, I don't necessarily mean I have to use a passport or get on a plane. I could just go in my backyard and just explore Jacksonville, like just seeing it from a different route is always something to me. I like to take pictures of murals. And that's, for me, it's beautiful to be able to admire the work of someone else's, talent. Yeah. So that's something I do on the side all the time, whenever I have free time, so.
What I loved about what you shared is you shared an activity that fills you up. So even it being an area of passion for you, it's still something that does something for you. And I think that's so important for everyone, that you have that one or multiple things that you do for yourself that speaks to you, that causes your heart to smile and provides you fuel for doing the other things that you have a responsibility to.
That's right. No, it definitely makes me happy. I don't know if I lit up on camera or not, but just to even...
Well, you could hear it when you were talking about it.
Just to even talk about it to someone is, I love it. I like being in groups that people talking about their photography skills, and I'm learning things. Because it's definitely not something I studied. It's, I'm self-taught, I guess. So.
Yes, I love it. So this segment of our conversation is I'm bringing her to the table with me. And this is your opportunity to bring another woman to the table and give her virtual flowers, for you would not be where you are in your career without her fingerprint on your life.
Only one. Oh my goodness. Well, I would say this. There are many. And some I've been able to collaborate with. Some I've never met, and I just admire them from afar.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm gonna take the low hanging fruit, because she definitely deserves flowers. She works in tennis. She's a former tennis player. Her name is Katrina Adams. Katrina Adams served 2 times as USTA president, which is huge because she's an African American woman. And we don't see that. And she was an advocate for so many wonderful things in our sport. And she's just powerful, very savvy. She knows her stuff. She understands tennis from a global perspective as well as what we need to grow tennis in America. And I mean, hats off to Katrina. She's done wonderful things for us.
Is there anything that we have not discussed in our conversation that you would like to share with our listening community?
I just want to encourage everyone to just follow their heart. I think a lot of times, of course, we're driven by things a lot of times, right? And you can't have those things if we don't work hard. So
say that again.
You have to work hard to get the things. But I think there's also a marriage there where you can do what you enjoy and be happy and find that balance. Make sure you make time for your family, your friends, your loved ones. That's really important to me.
Yeah.
And we do spend most of our time at work. So you got to find work that is going to make you happy.
Yes.
Because otherwise you could be very miserable with all the riches, but you could be very, poor in your spirit.
Yeah.
And so I just think you have to find the right balance. And I just encourage women, because this conversation is for women. I want to encourage women to make sure that they strike the right balance.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming to stay a while with me today, Erika, and taking your seat at the In Her Words table. And you are welcome anytime.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.